What's good, everyone? It's VenomousStare back with more StarCraft 2. This time we have a Terran versus Zerg, my favorite matchup in the game, and it's between JJaKJI, a Terran who won GSL in late 2011. He's known as a guy who likes to play aggressive, but he has solid macro to back it up. He doesn't have a whole lot of other tournament success. He's not one of these god-tier Koreans like Innovation or MVP or Nesty back in the day that won several major tournaments. He's very good, but his crowning achievement is really that one GSL. In the top right, we have someone who has had major LAN success in Korea and has had it occur very recently as opposed to back in 2011, and that's Dark. He won the SSL, which, if you don't know what the SSL is, it's similar to the GSL in the sense that it's one of the best LANs in Korea. A LAN is like a tournament in real life as opposed to a tournament where the matches are played online, if you didn't know that. So it's an online real life tournament where they come to a studio and play in booths, and there's a lot of money on the line. In the SSL, it's not as good as the GSL, but it's right there. And the SSL, of course, is very respectable, and winning an SSL is very impressive. And Dark not only has won an SSL, but he's gotten second in another. Dark has also made some deep runs at foreign tournaments, and he is a guy who plays this infallible macro style, and what that means is no matter what his Terran opponent does, Dark doesn't really have any issues defending. He's the kind of player who will just kind of take everything that you throw right at him and just deflect it away with ease. He's not someone who can be cheesed easily, and he's not someone who relies on surprises to win games. He plays textbook macro-based styles, and if you're new to Zerg and you're looking for someone to learn from, this is the guy you should look to, because he does the fundamentals very crisply. So he injects with this first queen, makes another immediately, and then walks the first queen that was made down to his natural. Great move. This means he will basically not miss any injects. And the Reaper comes down, and Dark's going to defend it pretty easily here. The Reaper will poke around. Two more lings on the way for Dark. The Reaper, it's thinking about trying for drones, but it has to kite back from the lings. And the queen is going to come back and try to help deflect. The lings are coming down. Juking back and forth is the Reaper. Ooh, and it escapes. Nice juking maneuver there from JJaKJI, allowing the Reaper to move southbound and escape the main base. This isn't a very good Reaper map because there is not very much exposed cliff into the main base. Basically what determines what is a good Reaper map is how much of the main base is exposed. And JJaKJI is probably going to lose this Reaper now that ling speed is out. Nice little grenade there, so crisp micro from JJaKJI so far. Kept his Reaper alive for a long time. And it appears, just like in game 1 of this best of 3, that JJaKJI is going to go for this quick double medevac stem drop timing. Dark has laid a creep tumor in his main already, and he's already spread it once, so this is another thing that newbie Zerg should aim to copy. You want to link your main base and your natural with creep spread, the earlier the better. This is particularly important when you consider which build JJaKJI's doing. It's a build that really hits hard whenever you can drop your opponent's main base off of creep and constantly kite them back onto favorable engagement territory, aka no creep. Little swapperoo here from JJaKJI. So the double medevacs are going to start around the 405 mark. JJaKJI, of course, has expanded. He's making double workers. Players are about even in workers. The Zerg is slightly ahead. Double Evo Chamber comes down here for Dark. Still no lair tech. He's making lots of queens. He's taken a third. He started creep spread down to his third. Come here, Elise. This is Elise, the monkey-faced dog. So Dark is going to run at the front door and see that JJaKJI is doing that eBay in the wall one upgrade thing, so he probably knows that this attack is on the way. Dark is going to defend here with queens and lings. He does a nice little transfuse there. And if we go to JJaKJI's vision, he's trying to press up into the third. He doesn't know how many drones that Dark has, and Dark deflects that push with ease. And if we go to vision, Dark did not see what was in the main base of JJaKJI. He did see this one upgrade, and if we look at his vision, he sees the lack of gas, so he could probably deduce that it was the same build from last game. Third base on the way for JJaKJI, as well as a couple more barracks and combat shields. Now JJaKJI's pressure isn't going to do very much damage. Dark is not going to mess up these transfuses, although he's running a bit low on energy now. Yeah, he has one transfuse left, but JJaKJI picks off one queen. That's not really significant. 1-1 is on the way for Dark, and as soon as this finishes, he will be able to stifle this push with ease, because 1-1 lings are very, very powerful, especially when they have an upgrade advantage versus any units that are 0-0. And there will be an extremely short period of time where it will be that way, but there will be a long period of time where it will be 1-0 versus 1-1. So Stim comes out here for JJaKJI. His combat shield has finished, which is very useful. Slow Banes are out. A little bit of a Stim. JJaKJI is forced to lose a few units due to the high amount of queens and threat they pose to the medevacs. 1-1 for the Zerg is about to complete. Notice that Dark has kept lots of overlords out here to check for drops. He knows that JJaKJI is someone who favors drop-based play. And he has one out here to see medevacs coming out of the main, as well as a base that comes over here. On this map, these little white platforms are good places to put overlords, because they're little high grounds. They count as high grounds, like your opponent can't see them unless they have something that's in the air. But obviously, if you have an overlord perched up here, it kind of gives you vision of these corridors. More harassment from JJaKJI, but this is all inconsequential is the word I was looking for, excuse me. And what I mean by that is, yeah, he's going to pressure and kill some creep tumors, maybe a queen if he's lucky, but Dark's creep spread is still very good, and JJaKJI's been constantly pressuring him. If we go to income, Dark is winning. JJaKJI's taken a third. He's preemptively moved an army out here. Dark has taken a fourth, but once again we see Dark is really, really good at defending, and he's not the kind of person who's going to needlessly make mistakes. His Spire just finished. His 2-2 is on the way. His Baneling speed is almost finished. Dark is pressuring forward a little bit, and if we look at the upgrade tab, there is an advantage here for Dark. Nice wall being started for JJaKJI, but it's not completed yet. A little bit of a doom drop here as JJaKJI loads almost everything he has up into medevacs, but realizes he's going to walk over some Banes. And most of the Banes die or get cancelled. That's pretty sad for Dark because they were almost completed. Perhaps Dark knows what's up because once again, JJaKJI loads everything up into medevacs. He will see it at the last second. He's starting to move his queens over. He has a Spore and a handful of lings. And Corruptors pop right at the right moment. Lots of Widow Mines are out here for JJaKJI. Dark's retreating. 2 more medevacs are going to attack the 4th. And JJaKJI does a little reburrow. Those medevacs might fly to the natural, and boom! JJaKJI loses a lot to Banelings, but here he's going to drop in the natural. Dark is researching Burrow at this hatchery. That research will be completed because he's going to run over his Queen-Ling combo. He does lose his drones on gas, which is irritating. And JJaKJI loves to multitask, loves the multi-prong drop harass. So he's going to drop the 3rd while he drops the main. Dark is going to defend this with Corruptor Spore. Corruptors are very good at defending multi-prong drops if you don't have all your Corruptors in one hotkey. They're not very good at harassing like Mutas are. But the Corruptor is better at fighting straight up. The thing about Mutas is they're quicker at reacting and responding from one location to the other, but Corruptors are so much more beefy that it allows them to be more useful when it comes to fighting medevacs, because oftentimes if you try to defend drops with mutas, if you miss micro a little or the Terran focus fires, especially if they're 3-3, you can lose a lot of mutas, and mutas are so expensive that that's a really dangerous thing to do. Because as soon as your ground army dies when you're defending against marine medevac with mutas, your mutas will quickly evaporate after the ground army does. One thing newbie Zerg players you need to note is Dark has a macro hatch. This is one of the best macro players in the world, a top tier Korean pro gamer. A little bit of harass there on the 4th, and he makes a macro hatch. Macro hatch isn't a newbie thing to do, it just means that you're aware of the fact that you need to be able to spend a lot of your money very quickly, and Dark obviously is aware of that. What I mean by that is if you have a lot of money banked up, it's not really any use to you. Obviously you want money in StarCraft 2, but you want to be able to spend the money quickly even more. So JJaKJI's trying to harass with the Liberator and then drop the main, but Dark has lots of queens in his main and a Spore. You don't want to drop into a ton of queens like this because the transfuse will make it where if you ever drop into a highly contested area, oftentimes killing some of the initial valuable units is what will win you the advantage to get the drop off its feet and the units out of the medevac. Big hit there from the Widow Mine. It's 12 kills. But when you have queens have so much transfuse where the units initially being dropped out of your medevacs won't really be able to kill them or burst any of them down, so you have to be wary of that. Also, whenever you are playing a style that involves a lot of Zerglings, you also need a macro hatch pretty early on. Doesn't matter how good your injecting is, you simply have to have that larva. So Dark scouted out this medevac, and he's going to go kill it with Corruptors, I think. He's just playing it safe, he's looking for it, but JJaKJI is going to move across the map himself, and a ton of lings are down here. JJaKJI has completed his wall in, and both players are reaching a maxed out state. A little bit of an expeditionary force is going to be eviscerated there. JJaKJI has established a planetary fortress in the middle of the map. He's adding another base, but look at this. A little bit of ling harassment has killed some workers in the main, 8 workers. That's really annoying for JJaKJI because now he has to reallocate gas workers up there. Widow Mines might get burrowed forward, but JJaKJI's very good at unburrow micro. But Banes come forward and kill a ton of bio, and a Dropper Lord dies there, runs into a couple turrets, and lots of Banes run forward. And JJaKJI had a ton of Marauders, but Dark had even more bio, and what I mean by bio is Zergling, Baneling, of course. Way more ground army here for Dark than there is for JJaKJI. Dark is teching into the glorious Ultralisk, and those might become Dropper Lords very soon. Terran drop here for JJaKJI is going to try to do some damage, but little double burrow play here at the bottom. Changelings are out in the middle of the map to try to spot the army, and this is interesting. At this critical choke here, where oftentimes you would see a flanking maneuver, both players have a burrowed trap. Lingbane surging forward here, it's going to make some connections, but Dark is going to retreat. More Banelings being constructed, transfuse going down. Both players are playing very well. A drop is here over at the south. And a burrowed Bane potentially being cleared out at the top there. Regardless, a base is going to be landed. JJaKJI has made turrets. He's going to press the middle while he presses the bottom. A classic Terran maneuver. He's splitting out here, and it looks as though Dark is going to clear out the drop and then try to defend mid. But Dark is pressuring the north side as well. He's going to lose this middle base. He wasn't quite able to defend the middle while he defended the bottom as well. And JJaKJI is having trouble landing this base because of burrow. Banelings are going to come forward here, kill a little bit, and JJaKJI doesn't really have that big of an army. He doesn't have a lot of Marines. And suddenly we see his reinforcements arrive, but Dark kills a little bit and then he retreats. Dark's 3-3 is on the way. He desperately needs the crackling upgrade, the Zergling attack speed upgrade, adrenal glands. Creep spread is going to be cleared from JJaKJI. Dark is going to aggress on, well, no, he's actually going to run and then back off. And I will be interested to see, yes, there he does elect to retake this middle base. Another scan. So one brilliant thing that Dark did is, he's been doing some drop lord stuff, sure, but he burrowed a ling right where JJaKJI wanted to make this place. And look, he's going to go for a little counterattack before it turns into a planetary, and then attack the middle, or at least pressure the middle. Brilliant move. So basically what JJaKJI did was try to take his base up there. It would have been his 5th. But because there was a ling burrowed there, every time he tried to place it, it just wouldn't work. So he had to run units up there and scan, so that's a mule that he didn't use. And on top of it all, Dark did that multiple times. So this base, look, he's doing it again. It's like a consistent thing. The structure goes down here for Dark. That was the spawning pool. So now Dark can't make lings or queens. JJaKJI's going to harass annoyingly with one marine. But this base should have been a planetary for like the last 3 minutes. And now SCVs are being ravaged. So JJaKJI is falling apart a bit here when it comes to macro. And queens are going to try to defend along with ultras. Tons of transfused can come down onto these ultras. But he doesn't have any supporting units, Dark. He just has a handful of bands because he's counterattacking up here with his lings. And he's trying to defend this bottom base. He has lots of transfused still and lots of ultras. Widow mines are in a wonderful position, but if we look up north, these marines are going to be in peril because their bunker has fallen. But this is the advantage of building wall-ins and bunkers, is what would have been a lot of dead SCVs turned into a few dead Zerglings. And of course, Dark burrows lings. He's been using phenomenal. He's been using burrow very well this game. And look at this, another scan having to be used, another little force having to be allocated up here, and he sees it all with these burrowed lings, does Dark. Dark, of course, is killing JJaKJI's turrets in the middle. He even has lings burrowed in his main. This is a brilliant move because Dark knows Terran players don't like to make ravens, and he especially knows that aggressive Terrans like this, who you constantly harass, like JJaKJI, are way less likely to make a raven. So you take something that's almost never going to occur, and then a player who is even less likely to do it, and on top of that, the playstyle that you chose made it where he's less likely to do it. There's really no chance for a raven here. A little bit of Broodlord action here as Dark has teched up to the Supreme late game. Ghost and Vikings on the way for JJaKJI, so he hasn't forgotten how he won his GSL. And the Ultra Broodlord army is going to attack, even a Corruptor pissing onto this PF. SCVs are going to try to repair, but the Vikings have just now popped right as the base dies. So Dark is going to continue to aggress, but he has queens, he has ultras, he has some bands. He is really at an advantageous position here. And JJaKJI is just trying to reallocate everything to defend. Ultras are going to run up to this base. A nice little Liberator bunker to try to deal with all those burrowed lings, but here come the Banes! They can go for the SCVs. This is going to be really ugly, as at least the base is going to die and tons of SCVs go down too. 22, and suddenly a big fight in the middle of the map. Some snipes going down onto Ultras, slaughtering the Ultras, but JJaKJI actually has less Vikings than Dark has Corruptors, and Dark has Queens to boot. JJaKJI GG's, and that's it. That's the best of 3. So Dark takes it 2-0. Wonderful play from the Korean Macro Zerg. Make sure you subscribe for more.